Now, I've heard in previous interviews that you wanted to get your dad's drum kit from Cream back for you could put it in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Has there been any updates with that?
So what happened was the snare drum that my dad played from the beginning, we're talking before Cream, was a leady snare drum. Leady is before Ludwig. So before Ludwig became, they were called Leedy, and I think Ludwig either bought Leedy or Leedy became Ludwig. But anyway, so it was a hand wood-built snare drum. You know, it was really old. And that was his drum that he basically grew up playing, right? And he stopped playing drums for a little bit in the early 70s. Well, I was born in 69. He stopped playing drums for he went to Africa and did all that African stuff and didn't really play drums. And he gave the snare drum to me. So I learned to play on this leady snare drum. It was this drum I learned to play on. And he got back into drums, and my mum used to say that you could live off just following my dad. Everything he lost and forgot about, you could live off it, because he just he just put something down and forgot about it. So he'd forgotten about this snare drum. And I was like, yeah, that snare drum is still playing. And my dad was like, you got my leady? And I go, yeah, that's what you gave it to me. He goes, I want that back. That's my leady drum. I'm like, well, okay, give me a snare drum. So he gave me his spare snare drum to the kit he was playing, which was this psychedelic kit, which is actually in the Hard Rock Cafe. If you go to the Hard Rock Cafe, I think the Las Vegas one, if you see a Ginger Baker drum and it's like yellow and orange, 12 perspex, that's the kit I had. I had that whole kit. He gave me the spare snare drum to that, and the second bass drum, because he went single bass drum for a little while. For some reason, he dropped the second bass drum. So I had that bass drum and the spare snare, and I gave him the leady snare drum back. And my dad said to me, when I was giving it back to him, I said, I love this drum. He goes, you'll get it when I die. It'll be yours. So I'm like, okay, I'm 7, 8 years old. I didn't really compute that at all. But anyway, I'd forgotten about it. I was playing. So then when my dad died, before he died, he was in hospital. The whole story, I'll try and shorten it a little bit, but my dad married his fourth wife, Kutsi, this, I think from Ghana, Africa, somewhere in Africa, anyway. And he made a deal with her that, you look after me. She was like younger than me. She was like 40 years younger than him or something. She was like 35 or something, and my dad was 70. So it was more of a deal. You look after me and I'll give you everything kind of thing. A lot of these rock star rich people do. They just want to care about their life, and they just want to have a young woman, looking after them, and, go out, and I've got a young girl, I'm 70, look, I've got a 30-year-old, woman. So it was more that kind of thing. So the last 10 years of his life, I kind of backed off from my dad because his wife didn't want anything to do with us. She had her own kid. And my relationship fell apart with my dad. I even did a Rolling Stone interview where I said, my dad is dead to me. And they put it up there. And it wasn't like he's dead to me. It was just dead to me at that time because I wasn't talking to him. So anyway, I called my dad up and I'm like, look, Dad, we've got to put this all aside. You're really sick. You're 80 years old. You're really sick. I'm flying to London to play a tour. I'm doing a tour, playing the Music of Cream. It's the Music of Cream. So me and my dad agreed to meet at his sister's house, and we were going to, just meet and, put everything aside. He got really sick, like 2 weeks before that, 2 or 3 weeks before I was flying in. And I got a call from my sister saying, he's going to die. He's really sick. You better get over here. So I tried to get my flight changed. It was impossible. It was like $5,000. And I'm like, please, Dad, hang on. And he started getting better. He had they said, okay, you're cool. Keep your flight. So I flew in, and my dad was in hospital, and Eric had just visited him the day before. And he was actually doing okay. He was upright. He was talking. And I had the best experience with my dad. It was just like he acknowledged me. I was telling him I was playing Cream music, and he's like, that's great. And I said, I'm going to keep your legacy going. I'm going to keep it going, Dad. He was like, great, you're the one to do it. And he was really behind me. And I went out, and Kutsi, his wife, said, your dad wanted you to have his drums. I'm like, yeah, I expected, that's probably all I would get, knowing that, he's blown all his money. I would just like to have his drums, especially that leady snare drum. I'd just like to have that. And, if I get it, I think it would go in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I wouldn't take any money for it. I'd just donate it to them because there was nothing of my dad's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She was all cool with it and everything. Then I went out on the road and I said, I'll be back in 6 days because I had to go up to Scotland and play, and I'll be back in 6 days and I'll stay with you. He died the day before I was going to get back. So it was like, I'm on the road heading back and he's died. And I'm just like, unbelievable. I just had the best experience with my dad, and he's gone. And I was just like devastated. I was like completely, I had to play a show that night, and I don't know how I was bawling my eyes out. Anyway, I talked to Coetzee, my dad's book, his Rolodex, with Rod Stewart's number, Stevie Wonder's number, Eric Clapton's number, Steve Winwood, Mick Jagger, everybody's phone numbers in this Rolodex. And I said to Coetzee, I said, that Rolodex needs to be burned or give it to me and I'll put it aside, or that shouldn't get into the hands of any agents or anything. She goes, you get nothing. I've written you guys. I'm like, what's going on? And she started being really nasty to me. And I said, look, she said, I keep the book. It's my book. It's not your book. It's my book. I keep the book. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? She goes, I give it to Ina. I'm like, Ina's my dad's agent. I'm like, no. The last thing that book needs to go is to an agent.
Well, we were just talking about early on in this conversation.
Yeah. Anyway, so she gives it to Ina. So I'm talking to Eric. And I'm saying, look, let's get this funeral. Eric was going to help with the funeral. Stevie Winwood was going to go. Charlie Watts, Rolling Stones, all these people were going to come to the funeral. I get a call from Eric going, who's this Ina person? I'm like, oh no. He goes, I got a call from Ina. She's called everybody. Charlie Watts, she's called it. We're all sorry. We're all backing out. We don't want anything to do with this Ina person. She's doing the funeral. They're trying to get all these famous people involved we're out. So I was like, well, that's messed up. So I call up Coetzee and I go, what's going on? She goes, I gave the book to Ina. She's going to handle the funeral. I go, I thought my dad's sister was going to handle the funeral. It's just my dad's sister. That's who should be handling the funeral. You don't know anything about funeral. You're from another country. You don't know how it works. I don't know how it works. I give it to Ina. She does it all. I'm like, no. I do not trust agents. Agents are bad. I don't trust agents. Hang up the phone. Next thing, I get an email from Coetzee. You don't trust Asians. I am black. If you don't trust Asians, you're racist. You're a racist person. I don't want to speak to you anymore. You're a piece of shit. I write you out the will. You get nothing. You get no drums. You get nothing. I'm like, agent, not Asian. How are you confusing those two? We're talking about my dad's agent. I'm not saying my dad's Asian. So anyway, that's what happened. And I talked to Coetzee after that and I said, please, I've been in contact with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I told him I was going to give him the snare drum. And now I don't have the snare drum to give him because I thought I was going to get it. So I gave him the spare snare that my dad gave me. I go, this is all I've got to give you. I'm sorry, it's my dad's spare snare. It looks great. And so that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame right now. It's a spare snare. And I gave them that and I said, okay, that's the best I can do. If I can ever get that drum. So I called Coetzee again, email. She sent me this email. Your dad never loved you. He hated you. He wanted to get rid of you. He never loved you ever. You were a piece of shit. Sorry for the words. She was just like, unbelievable. And I was like, what the hell happened? And it's been like that since, it's been, how long since my dad died? 4 years, 5 years? And Coetzee is just...
Still the same. So.
Yeah, same. She won't give me the drums. She won't give me anything. She's tried to cut us out of the will as best she can. My sister's got emails with her saying, I cut you out of the will. I got power of attorney over Ginger Baker. I am now his, I do everything. You are nothing. He doesn't like his family. He never liked your family. And it's like, I've got videos of me and my dad. We got along great until Coetzee got into the picture. I mean, we didn't get along great, but he disowned me. I disowned him. We got back together. Normal father-son, stuff that can happen. A little bit extreme because it's my dad. But, it was never really meant. I love my dad. I know my dad loved me. We did drum duets together. We had I know the truth. I know that it's not real. I don't know why she's doing this. and I'm baffled. But that's so I can't seem to get hold of that drum, and I don't know where it is, and I don't know who's going to get it. I don't know where it's going to go. Even when the executives had to do something they have to find out all the stuff for the will. The kit wasn't there. She said the drums are not here, and she hid them. So I don't know what's happening with any of that stuff. I don't know where it's gone. There's another guy, my dad's bass, the guy who was playing with my dad at the last thing. He's in with Kutsi, so they're probably working together to try and sell the drums privately. So if the drums ever come up privately or anything, let me know. And if you do buy the drums, remember you're buying them illegally. They're not part of the will. They're not part of my dad's estate. They were hidden, so there's no documentation. The estates say those drums should be in the control of the estate, which me and my sisters have some help in. We can, we're in the family. So if you're buying those drums, you're buying them illegally, and if you do buy them illegally, please donate them to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's all I ask.
I think you said it very well, so I don't have too much more to add. But yes, if anyone does see them, either or purchase them, please let them know. Like it would be really cool to have them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Plus, you're buying them illegally, so don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.